Linda, as an artist, she worked with her dreams. She was quite prolific as an artist in the last years of her life. One of the things that Linda was most focused on in her artwork during that time was this dream analysis. So she was very interested in Jungian theory. And what she would do, she had developed a nice process. She would, as soon as she woke up, write down her dream. And if there was any sort of rich imagery in that dream, she would draw it. And then some of those drawings were later realized into sculptures.
And one of the things that she enjoyed doing the most in the Art Pace residency was, after the residency was completed, Linda would take each artist individually either to lunch or to dinner. And she would always say that those moments for her were some of the most special moments in her life because she got to interact with the artists one-on-one.
I was a lot more shy back then, and I always felt that she was pretty shy herself. So you put two shy people together, nothing's going to happen, or very little is going to happen anyway. So it was kind of like that, you know, but it seems like I understood her and she understood me, and we were both striving for the same thing, you know, in terms of being an artist and making art and making a contribution to the world, you know, to the visual world.
Linda's a collector, we know that, but it's not just the art object she's interested in. I mean, she really connected with artists, and had very special relationships with many artists, and in particular, Isaac Julian.
There was a general excitement around Linda because, in a way, she was an artist, but she was a collector, and so there was this extra kind of distance around Linda, and she knew exactly the kind of works that she wanted to get. Some of them were edgy, but like, look at it now. And I think what was really exciting about what Linda was doing was that the gallerists, you know, and the artists knew that she understood their language. That's what made her collection cutting edge. It wasn't about trophies or getting, like, you know, in quotation, best works. It was about collecting things which were quite unique and special, but sort of had this actual relationship to the language of contemporary art, which made, in a way, made her very avant-garde, you know. So I think that was something which was incredibly exciting and unique about Linda.
Linda's always interested in artists and the artist process and the ways they can create. But ultimately, she's a collector, and she would acquire certain pieces, and she kept them in her home. But once it became a large enough group, she really wanted to share that, the objects, the things that she's collected with others, so that they too, that we can have an experience with those objects that spoke to her. And Isaac was the person that introduced Linda to David ADJAYE. Early in her thought process of opening up a space to showcase her collection, she took Isaac's counsel and said, you know, I want a building that has architectural distinction, one which San Antonio can be proud, and one that will allow San Antonians and people from around the country, really, to come and experience the art objects that are contained within it.
And there happened to be one architect that she was really interested in, David ADJAYE, and she wanted to meet him. And it just so happened that I knew David.
She was then talking about Ruby City at that time. It was a dream in her mind, and she wanted to make it happen, and she was looking for an architect. And I had just finished a building called Rivington Place, which is an art centre in the East End of London that Isaac was on the board of. And she saw it and just said, who's the architect, I think?
I think David was very enamoured by Linda when they met one another. They got on immediately. And Linda completely made her mind up there and then that she wanted David to design Ruby City.
She had this dream, she conjured this dream in preparation for his visit. She wrote it down and then she drew it. And she presented David with this drawing.
So Linda's dream drawing is a kind of, it's like a koan or a dense poem or a sort of hieroglyphic that's kind of loaded with information. I sort of deciphered from it that it was really, it had in it a sort of the aspiration of the entire brief without sort of writing it.
Ruby City, I think, could be considered the realization of Linda's final artwork. You know, it started with a drawing and now it's an actual building, a sculpture in the round.
It was very important that when people would experience the collection, that they would experience the collection in a building that itself was a piece of artwork. So her idea was that not only students of art, but students of architecture would come to Ruby City, experience the architectural component of the building, and then also experience its contents and be exposed to a very advanced contemporary art collection in San Antonio. So it was a double objective for Linda, but the building was equally as important as the collection.
First for me, the red was really about the earth, a kind of red coloration, about a sort of form from the earth that would rise, but would have a kind of ethereal magic quality to it. So it was a kind of almost like a crystalline quality to it. But the building is a kind of ruby red, which is directly related to Linda's sketch and vision. The construction of that and how to make that is not easy. So we had to go to Mexico, and the incredible skills that we found there in concrete work to kind of get us the kind of aggregate color fastening that would make sense, that would last. You know, the sun is so intense. If you just do with a normal dye, it would fade and look like nothing in no time. So we did lots of tests. We put it out in the environment. We looked at it for months to just make sure that we got it right. And the chrysalis is about, you know, something more than the mundane. It's something magical. So I really felt that the way we could do it with this very earth material was to put glass, you know, into the aggregate mix. And what it would do is that it would catch the light and create a sparkle on the building as you moved around it, as the sun moved around it. And that was really important, that something that was like very ordinary, mundane, it's like the stuff of bridges and roads, can be transformed to look like something else, and to feel and to transport you to another feeling is very important.
One of the things that was most important to Linda was that the collection be accessible to San Antonio in particular. We discussed leaving her collection somewhere else. She could have left it to any type of museum. But Linda, as many people have heard, was not real fond of what we call the museum model. And by that, Linda did not like the idea that a collection would be 10% displayed and 90% stored. So Linda wanted a different model that would make the collection more accessible to the public. It was very important to her that the collection be available on a free basis, so art could be accessible to everyone. So as long as the art was free, accessible, visible to the public, those were her main objectives, that and also that it be in San Antonio.
Our focus isn't just on art as an education, it's more of art as an experience and something positive to disrupt people's daily lives. I think it's just a place where people can come and escape. But the real magic will happen when the public, they come and interact with the artworks. And so we have some really special pieces included in the inaugural exhibitions that our curator, KATHRYN has selected.
Linda was very committed to her vision. She didn't follow trends. I mean, she was careful to see a lot, to study, to look, but she followed her own impulses. And I think that led her towards works that reflected issues of feminism, ideas of spirituality, beauty. She really looked to art to speak beyond art itself and to tell us about our human condition.
You can just feel it. Linda is the building. You know, it was her dream that started all of this. But the collections, more specifically, the inaugural exhibitions are titled Waking Dream. And dreams were so essential to Linda's practice, and many of the works have that dreamlike quality.
I really like these works very much because I call it my second act, you know. Everything was really revitalized, you know, with these works, because I wasn't sure, you know, I left New York, I was ready to come back, I was tired of it, I couldn't do it anymore, and I had really no specific plans about much of anything, and I just knew that I wanted to make art, and so I started making these, and then, you know, there was a good response to the work, and so, you know, now what you see, all this is part of that experience, coming back and doing all that.
Well, I should say that it's an incredible honor to be here in Ruby City, installing this piece right now, Playtime, a work which was shot in 3 different cities across the world, Dubai, London and Iceland, which explores questions of art and capital and culture and how it affects individuals and artists in their various fields. I have to thank Linda Pace Foundation, for commissioning the work, and it's such an honor to bring it back here in Ruby City, in San Antonio, and to have it displayed in this fantastic manner.
In the collection, I have these exit signs that mark a journey from here back to my hometown, Laredo. I started to make them in a time in my life when I was exiting something that I'd been involved with for a very long time. And I was thinking them as exits as I was making them, but I was also thinking about this journey back to a beginning and, in a sense, having to redefine myself. So, of course, it was a personal kind of quest or journey, but as I finished them, I kind of realized that every exit was an entrance, and that I wasn't really exiting anything. I was actually entering a new phase in my life, and that we should look at those things as a back and forth rather than just one thing.
Ruby City is really a gift to San Antonio. It's a place where they can come and make their own connections to contemporary art. So each person's experience is going to be their own when they come here, but they are going to experience excellence, right? I mean, this building alone, to have this signature building here in Southtown is kind of a point of civic pride. And then that it's filled with artworks from some of our regions and our world's most important artists is something to feel very good about.
Well, I think Linda's legacy is one where she literally put her money where her mouth was. She was one of those great souls who sort of believed in, working hard, doing things, incredible things, and then giving to the next generation. So her life is about continuing the process and giving the beauty and the experiences she had to the next generation. It wasn't a selfish life, it's a life that unfolded and is open to society, and she's one of the trailblazers.